I realize that I can say thank you on behalf of the Lincoln Community Center. Thank you so much for being here today, for recognizing this spot, and for gathering here and just helping us fulfill our mission. So thank you. I'm Chavawn Kelley. I have worked on this project, I guess, most of my life. When we were meeting with the city, they were saying, and some people have grown up here. And I winked at my friend Wendy and I said, well, some of us have grown old here. Our son came to his first Lincoln Community Center meeting in the little carrier. And he's not that little anymore. I am so sorry you can't see these. The pictures are taken directly from a timeline that I created for the opening of the Lincoln Community Center. So if you get a chance, you can wander into the hall. Ooh, I think you're onto something. You can wander into the hall and see these in a way that you can perhaps actually read them. So when I went into my very first American Studies class, one of our textbooks was The Power of Place. And I loved that book. And I had already been involved in this project for many years, but I really, really appreciated that book. I would like to call my presentation West Side Stories. And that's what I will talk about, is stories. So the West Side School started in 1883. It was a wooden school, and that was still on the grounds when they began the brick Lincoln School in 1924. And the picture at the top is of Shirley Lilly's father laying the brick for this building, not this building, but that building, the 1924 original building. So in 1978, the school district determined that this building was too small for a school and they needed a more modern school. And a group of West Side residents got together and formed Lincoln Community Center, Inc. And this is a picture of those incorporation papers and the names of those neighbors who launched the dream.
I can click if you would like.
Well, let's see if I can do it. All right, just give it a shot. So, I would like to talk for just a moment about the West Side neighborhood. Can anybody see this slide well enough to tell what it is?
Yes. It's the street view.
So this is right next to Coal Creek, right, if you look out that window, right there. And can anybody tell me what's wrong with this picture? Yes, Gwendolyn.
It's missing the oldest part of town.
What are you saying?
There's no west side on that map.
Are you saying that that's the railroad tracks?
Yeah.
And town goes all the way to there, and that town ends at the railroad tracks?
This is what it looks like on that map.
Oh. This is not old. I mean, in Laramie history terms, this has been here, I mean, maybe 20 years. But it's set in stone. It's set in stone. It is literally set in stone that this town goes all the way out there. And even if you're standing right on there and look over, there's no west side. West Side talked a lot about how this is a diverse neighborhood, primarily Latino, but all kinds of people. It was a place where all people could live. It was also redlined by the banks. That meant that you couldn't get loans on this side of town. This side of town didn't count. And consequently, those families would sell houses to one another. They would make sales for maybe $1. They would build onto the houses that they had. And the houses in this neighborhood, as you can see, are small and very modest. It has always been a working class neighborhood. Okay, I think I will have to take you up on your offer. Oh, we really can't see these. The first thing, but you can see enough. The first thing when I joined the board, and it had been going on for a very long time, was to hook up with our CLG and ask that our building be put on the National Register. And these are the pictures that Richard Collier took for our National Register nomination. And when I look back on them, I find them shocking. And I hadn't looked at them for many, many years until last year, and I cried. We have had our beautiful building for over 10 years now. And that's also why I thank you for inviting me today to go back to this time and to remember what we faced when we were looking at realizing the dream of the Lincoln Community Center. So we had the original Ludovici tile. The clay tiles were red and green. They were green with red patched in, and they were broken. And our windows, everything, the windows were not broken. We did not have vandalism, but we had deterioration. The structural engineer suggested that 5 more years and the building could not have been rehabilitated. Really can't see that. So we'll go back to the timeline. Mario Flores was our president when we really undertook. I'll back up. He was our president when we undertook the definitive efforts to rehabilitate the Lincoln Community Center. But for all the years prior, this had been a grassroots effort. And what Mario says in this clip, he said it was families. It was families that did the work. They came out, they mowed the grounds. He talked about all the citations they got from the city for the grass being too tall. He said, we had so many doubters. So many doubters. So you think about it. They started in 1982. He was talking about the first 10 years. And the way the project was going, we installed a new bathroom. We installed some heat. We put a big commercial utility heater up in that corner. And then once we got it going, it was so loud that you couldn't have a meeting in here. An electrician who got in trouble with the law did his community service, and we got some electricity. That was really helpful. But, you know, we had our Lincoln Community Center meetings. The kitchen used to be in this little tiny corner, and there was a big gas range, and that was the only heat. So we would huddle by the pilot light. And So, again, our first step was to get National Register designation for the building, and that took 5 years. And, you know, I appreciate that it was such a hard process because it got better and better and better. And again, if you read the National Register nomination for this property, it really tells you about the neighborhood and the people. You can see this is very much the heart of the neighborhood, and it was the heart of the neighborhood when it was a school. So we did some roof repairs. We got the Spanish radio station came in, and we got a little electricity for them, and a little bathroom space, a hot water heater that they could use. But we never forgot that our middle name was community. So when we didn't have a space, we still had a community. And the pictures at the end are of the lab school kids that came and painted the back of the stage, a beautiful mural depicting Laramie. The picture at the bottom, I do hope you'll get a chance to look at these out here, was a dinner. For 3 years, we teamed with different UW programs. One was American Studies, one was American Indian Studies, and one was Chicano Studies. And in each case, we were able to look at the situation of the Lincoln Community Center and see on the ground how marginalization was happening in our community. But by golly, we had a gem, and we had a middle name that was community. So we had programs. We did painting. We had a little fiesta out in the back parking lot. And I'm talking about, that's a parking lot in the black and white pictures, not what you see now. Mecha, which is the Latino community group at the university, made tamales. We had a tamale sale. And then for 3 years, we had our walking tours, West Side Stories. This was a neighborhood that people over there were afraid to come to. And this goes to Karen's point about education. People didn't know this neighborhood. They didn't know about us. And they didn't know that it was called the West Side. This is an in-town neighborhood. This is not West Laramie, which is on the other side of the river. So we had walking tours, and we learned history, and we talked to people, and we created these booklets that people could walk around with. And then, you know, we had community, but we had a hard time as a board. And like Mario, who I spoke of, and his wife and I made a trip to the bank, and we told them that we were the board of the Lincoln Community Center, which was true, and that we were going to take out all the money that belonged to the Lincoln Community Center account. And the reason was there was a mean person who had controlled that account for many, many, many years. And never was it stolen from, it was intact, but it was under lock and key. So we took the money, and then we had a bank account. So that was a big step. And here's a picture of the church when it was newly painted. And you can see the Lincoln Community Center is still boarded up. But that was during the time of our walking tours. So this mean person, we'll just call her that, had been on this board for many, many years before I came. And, you know, during this time, people came and went, and mostly went. And I told you we couldn't get our money, but one thing she did is that she brought a Christmas party here. And that Christmas party was for Albany County. And the Albany County Grants Manager came, Sheila Schermetzler. And she looked and she said, well, I think we can do something here. And at that point, we began our work to move from a neighborhood grassroots effort where we installed our own toilet and painted our own walls to what would really be required to rehabilitate the entire school and the entire block. She knew what to do, and she was willing to take on this project. At that time, we would have board meetings 2-3 nights a week. I can remember one over there where the roof was not secure and snow was snowing on us. We all had on our coats. That was during construction. But that's, by golly, you leave your family behind. Your kid has to raise himself. Your husband is neglected. But by golly, we were going to have a Lincoln Community Center. Here we are with the architect. That's Mario, and our architect. This is the original floor that Minnie, Eric especially remembers. It was so creepy. It had a clown, and all the little stars had the numbers and the little spots where the kids could march around. This picture says redevelopment efforts. So, next one. So, again, we had all these meetings, and it was hard. And I know for me, I had 2 full-time jobs during those years. And here is our grant. That was, many of you who've been in historic preservation for a time, can hardly pick it up, may remember the school facilities reviews, and they went around the state and determined that our historic schools were not worthy of being schools. And to his credit, Dave Friedenthal created the Community Facilities program, grant and loan program. And that was designed specifically so that schools could create community from these historic buildings. And that's the loan, that was the program that we applied to. This is what it took. And again, it was our county grants manager, Sheila Schermetzler, who led us through this process. And the first thing was to value the property. And the assessment showed that the property was worth more if the whole thing was raised. And I was devastated, but I later realized that was just very real, that gave us our direction, and that it really gave us motivation. So here you can see during construction, and one of the big things that happened is for the first time we got off this like 1930s paint. Do you remember that kind of has specks in it? I don't know, they was maybe left over from battleships or something. But they had painted the entire original facade of the 1924 building. And so that came off. That was a huge effort, and we expanded that. Our historic architect was wonderful, and he truly worked with us on how this building would be used. Those are the plans. You can't see. And something crazy happened. And actually, I want to talk about the dark days for a moment. I prayed. I sent money to the Catholic monks and asked them to pray for us. We had gone to a conference, and a woman who was a shaman, who had studied, I think in Mexico or South America, we asked her to come. And in that picture where the grounds are all overgrown, we went in that corner at midnight, and she brought a blue horse, and 4 of us took the 4 corners. And essentially, I don't remember, except that it was kind of a guided meditation on behalf of the Lincoln Community Center. And that night, I had this realization. I had this picture of the Lincoln Community Center as an abuela, a grandmother who wanted her children back. And that's what happened. When we opened the Montessori school, saw an opportunity, they came in. Not only did we get our children back, we got a new classroom that they paid for. And next slide. So now, we're 10 years down the way. We have had our Cinco de Mayo celebration for, we're not 10 years, it's really more. We've had our Cinco de Mayo celebration for 12 years. Our director, who was only a teenager when her mother put her on that list of the original board of directors, she estimated that we had 45,000 contacts last year. Head Start is in our building, so those children come. Those were, we do have not a kindergarten, but a pre-kindergarten in that same space. They have the whole, the archery club is there. We have church services, and we have meetings such as this. And we have been a sustainable project for all of these years. And in closing, I would just like to affirm what this project has meant to me. Again, to thank you for inviting me and getting back in touch with myself and our origin story. I have said, if I've accomplished nothing else in life, you can put on my gravestone, she helped rehabilitate the Lincoln Community Center. And it has, meeting my neighbors, working with people has been one of the most significant and rewarding parts of my life.